Begin to familiarize yourself with the noticer who is behind that which is being noticed. If you do this several times each day, you will begin to see that you are much more than just a body and mind going through the program motions of your life. Your realization of your true self as the witness behind that which is being witnessed will bring you a new dimension of creativity and bliss. Try on this exercise. Think of something that has been bothering you for a long period of time. Now go to a quiet place and close your eyes. Just see the problem surfacing on the blank screen in your consciousness. Notice all aspects of the problem, what it looks like, when it shows up, what you feel when it is on your mind, the pain and the fear that you have when it is present, how you have dealt with it unsuccessfully in the past. Think of everything that you can which is related to the problem. Then, detach yourself in your mind from the problem. Just allow it to sit there on the screen of your mind. Look at it from the viewpoint of the compassionate witness who just non-judgmentally notices the screen. Watch it like a movie, allowing it to change in whatever way it does. Just observe it with loving permission for it to do whatever it wants to do. You will see it change and fade in and out of awareness. With each change or movement on the screen, remain in the caring witness mode of knowing the energy will do what it will and will also be accompanied by the loving energy from the witness. Often, just this act of observation will result in a feeling of the problem having dissipated. If that happens, observe that also from the position of caring observer. I once practiced this act of observation when I was injured and unable to play tennis. I reacted at first to the pain in my foot with statements like, "This injury is keeping me from doing what I want to do, and I'm really upset about it." I found that no matter what I tried, the pain persisted, and I was unable to pivot and consequently had to discontinue an activity that I loved. I then took the witness stance. I no longer saw myself as having an injury. I attributed the pain only to my body and not to me. I witnessed the entire thing and merely watched it. I lovingly witnessed the pain, the way it showed up, my feelings of frustration about it, the color of the swelling, everything. But I refused to think of it as mine. It was only my body's problem. The very same day that I did this, the entire discomfort disappeared. I mean, it was gone from my body. I had put my attention on what was occurring and detached myself from it. And in what seemed like a few hours, I no longer had the pain, and I was playing tennis as if I had never experienced any injury at all. In order to know the benefit of witnessing, you will have to banish the doubt about this as something that will work for you. Remember, you have been conditioned to believe that your body is the essence of your humanity. You've been taught to tackle problems with your physical and intellectual apparatus, not your higher self. Practice new self-talk sentences to replace your old identification with your physical body. I am that which owns this body. I am not the body itself. I can't be reached if you come to me with hatred or anger. I cannot worry when I refuse to be the worrier and simply observe that worrier and the worries. Self-talk sentences will keep you centered on your spiritual domain. You will find that many things that you worried about or experienced in a negative fashion are slowly beginning to diminish from your life. Rather than engaging in confrontations with others, try being the witness. Rise above the temptation to make someone else wrong, and instead watch yourself and your opponent from the witness perspective. In a quiet place, practice observing your thoughts for 30 minutes. Just sit your mind down and watch as thoughts come and go. While you're doing this, keep reminding yourself that those thoughts are not you. Give recapitulation a try. You can sit down and begin to recapitulate your life from today backwards right up to your birth, if you decide this is useful. This process involves imagining the people and the events that have been part of your life, including family and people you've worked with, lovers, close friends, schoolmates, neighbors, and anyone else. You begin by moving your head from left to right very slowly as you bring the people and the surroundings into your consciousness. As you move your head back and forth very slowly, you begin sweeping the energy back into you that you lost in those encounters. You are recalling the energy that you dissipated. Some people have spent as long as 2 years in this recapitulation process. When they were finished, they were re-energized and able to access their new energy to transport themselves inward to new dimensions of reality, new inner worlds that defy all that they had believed possible previously. The practice of recapitulation is recapturing energy. It gives you a much clearer picture of the need for everything that happened in your life to have transpired exactly as it did. Recapitulation shatters the belief that energy once spent is lost. You can access both your body and your energy body and know new worlds of perception. Recapitulation is the entryway to those worlds. These ideas of recapturing energy, sweeping away useless energy, and exchanging energy between people may seem absurd to you. If they do, it is because you have come to rely so heavily on your five senses that anything that is extrasensory seems unbelievable or unthinkable. Everything in the universe is energy. You cannot move without influencing energy. You are a storehouse of energy, and you always have been. Give yourself permission to go beyond your senses and experience a new kind of formless energy that will put you in touch with worlds you may never have imagined. The process of recapitulation is exquisitely exciting. You can redistribute your normal energy and enhance it in such a way so as to give you a somersault into the world of the unimaginable. I recommend that you read Tasha Abelar's The Sorcerer's Crossing for a detailed description of this recapitulation process. Even if you find it a struggle to cultivate the witness totally in your life, give some of these ideas a workout. More than anything, the witness posture introduces you fully to your higher self. It lets you in on the big secret. You are not your problems, your frustrations, or even your physical life. You are that which is noticing it all. You cannot truly grasp or examine this sacred part of yourself because it resides in the invisible you, yet it is the heart of your sacred quest. You want to allow your sacred self, rather than your ego, to be the controlling influence in your life. You want a deeper and a richer experience of life. It will elude you if you don't get to know this higher part of yourself. The witness will introduce you to this knowing. Nisargadatta Maharaj writes in I Am That, "It is the I am the body idea that is so calamitous. It blinds you completely to your real nature. Even for a moment, do not think that you are the body. Give yourself no name, no shape. In the darkness and the silence, reality is found." As you cultivate this new awareness, you will find yourself enjoying the silence even more than when you used to seek out the noise as your companion. Cultivating the witness will introduce you to yourself not as the doer, but as the observer of the doer. You will come to welcome this realm as a respite from the hurry-up world that you've been living in. Those who measure such things estimate that our minds have 60,000 thoughts during the waking hours of every day. The problem with this is, today we will have essentially the same 60,000 thoughts that we had yesterday and the day before that. Our inner worlds are a frenetic beehive of activity with the same thoughts endlessly repeating themselves. This inner frenzy I call the inner dialogue. It is an omnipresent buzz in the form of silent thoughts. Most of this inner dialogue is a personal inventory of beliefs we've been trained to accept by others. Those thoughts include all of your beliefs about everything you can possibly imagine. You may remember what I said earlier about beliefs. I explained that they are laced with doubt because you've got them from others. Therefore, your inner dialogue is a perpetual experience of reinforcing doubt. Doubt about yourself, your ability to create miracles, your ability to manifest divine relationships, to heal yourself, to materialize prosperity, and finally, doubt about your ability to know the bliss of inner peace. This, then, is the third key to higher awareness. I call it shutting down the inner dialogue. Learning to be quiet, learning to experience the bliss of silence. The way to get to this place of inner peace and consequently to experience higher awareness is to shut down the internal frenzy. The Chinese sage Seng Chan Tsen gave us the following piece of wisdom. Stop talking, stop thinking, and there is nothing you will not understand. Return to the root and you will find meaning. Look inward, and in a flash you will conquer the apparent and the void. He is counseling us to simply stop talking and stop thinking. This is the third key to the sense of peacefulness that is a part of the way of the sacred quest. I want to make it clear that peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the experience of the presence of God. As you learn to shut down your inner dialogue and become more peaceful, you will begin to know the presence of God in your life. That presence will be felt in both your body and your inner world. Beliefs are removed. Belief is replaced with knowing. At different times in my past, both alcohol and other substances were a part of my own life path. Through meditation, I was able to leave alcohol behind, and I have never touched it since. But with other substances, I believed I could use them when I chose to for an energizing effect beyond anything I had ever experienced. I was able to use them, enjoy increased energy, and leave them alone for long periods of time. But a time came when I knew I was making foolish and non-spiritual choices connected with seeking out these insidious substances. My personal challenge became to rid myself of these insidious habits. I tried reading my way out of it, but I went back. I tried acupuncture, discussions with experts, and herbal cures, but I went back. I was determined that I would no longer play around with any substance, but I went back. Then I had what I call a holy instant, which was for me a divine experience. At 4:05 a.m. on a January morning, I was meditating. In the still quiet of that meditation, the thought of never again using a substance became real. It was my first absolutely direct experience of God. My entire inner screen of awareness became a bright luminescence as I heard a voice say, "You've tried everything else. Why not try me?" I have never in my life known such peace and certainty that God was with me and around me. I felt overwhelmed by the bliss I experienced. I listened to that voice, felt the presence of God, and have not since experienced the slightest desire to go back to any substance. I have debated with myself about putting this very personal story on this tape. That is, my ego self debated with my higher self. But I knew my experience with chemical substances involved helping others to look within instead of outside of themselves for both the excitement and the peace their higher self has for them. If, in my telling this story, one person who experiments with any substance and knows that it is out of control decides to shut down the inner turmoil and seek the help of their loving presence, then it will have been worth it. You needn't have the challenge of getting off drugs to find value applying this third key to higher awareness. It works the same way for every experience you are ready to transcend. Getting to silence and then having God be your personal knowing presence. Getting to silence requires conscious effort on your part. When going within, use the metaphor of the pebble dropping through the various levels of your mind. While the pebble drops, be the witness. Observe compassionately all your chatter and thoughts as you descend to the unified field. When you notice your mind overly crowded with thoughts, practice not focusing on anything just for a few moments. Tell yourself, "My mind is full of the disturbance of chatter and thoughts. I'm going to try to spend 5 minutes without any thoughts bombarding me. I'll dismiss every thought just for a few moments." Use your breath as a means to keep your mind from chattering away ceaselessly. You can do this by focusing your compassionate witness on your breathing. Breathe in deeply, excluding any thoughts as you concentrate on the in-breath. Then exhale slowly and fully with the same concentration. When thoughts appear, as they will, know that they are signaling you to return to mindfulness of your breathing in and out. Your heartbeat can also be used as a focal point for the witness. Return to the steady, rhythmic beat of your heart when you notice thoughts intruding. When you find your thoughts just below the surface in the analyzing level, think of a rose. As you replace the analyzing with the beauty of a rose, you might want to recall this verse by the poet Rabindranath Tagore. Do not carry a rose to our beloved, because in it is already embodied a message which, unlike our language of words, cannot be analyzed. That is, remember that the habit of analyzing or picking things apart in a judging fashion keeps you from knowing the truth that is at the center of your being. The rose needs no analyzing, as the poet reminds us. It simply is. The same is true of you. At the synthesizing level, when you are feeling the beauty and unity of life, you may discover that you are entering thoughts of pleasure about enjoying this spiritual space. Let go of those thoughts, too. The ego enjoys convincing you that you are better than others because you are more spiritual or have deeper understanding. It swims through your consciousness with thoughts like those. When it does, gently send it elsewhere for this time of meditation or prayer. Make a call to your local Transcendental Meditation Center, listed in the phone book of every major city in the world, and sign up for their introductory course. This is a magnificent introduction to finding inner peace and shutting down the inner dialogue conducted by highly qualified instructors. The purpose of TM is to teach you firsthand how to get to that unified field and to learn what your resistance to the process means. I recommend it strongly. I've practiced TM for many years. In any moment of stress, go within for just a few moments and allow the pebble to drop, even if it is only for a few seconds. You can actually practice quieting inner dialogue any place. I found the technique useful even in the middle of a tennis match. When I've done this, I've discovered that some of the most important moments in athletic competition are between the points, not during the points. That space is like the space between your thoughts when you approach a higher level of functioning. In situations like a tennis match, you can stay centered by concentrating on your breathing between the points. You will become immune to external distractions this way. Try to make your activities into meditations rather than stressful competitions. Shutting down the inner dialogue does not have to be something you practice alone in a quiet place. You can do it at any location, regardless of the external circumstances. As you gather the spiritual force within you in these joyous moments of silence, you will direct your ego to take a back seat to your higher self. It is this final key to higher awareness that awaits your attention. At any given moment in your life, you are choosing between two pictures or evaluations of yourself. Your choices include the one offered by your soul or the higher self, which I think of as the voice of God, and the one offered by the ego, or your false idea of yourself. You decide how you view yourself and how you view others as well. Essentially, you accept either ego's picture of yourself and others, or that of your higher spiritual self. In every moment of your life, you have the option to choose peace for yourself. The ego wants you in a constant state of agitation to keep you from embracing your higher self. It convinces you that if you are not always on edge, you can't grow. But you must keep in mind that experiencing this inner turmoil is a choice that you have made by allowing your false self to dominate your life. When you make the choice for peace, you are literally allowing God into your life. So this fourth key to higher awareness, I call taming the ego. Learning how to specifically allow the higher part of yourself, rather than your lower identities, to be in control of your life. We all long for the peacefulness of being without turmoil and angst. There is a feeling of an inner glow when we know that we are on course, on our sacred path. So why do we so frequently choose the opposite emotions and thoughts and inner beliefs, which agitate our minds and cloud our perceptions and distort our relationships? You need to carefully examine your choices that block your experience of peace, of God. Just knowing that peace is always an alternative is a significant awakening. These tools will help to tame the ego when it demands that you pursue separateness or specialness. Replacing the turmoil that you so often choose is then a simple matter of allowing your higher self to take over in any situation where you are about to allow turmoil to enter. Your ego will push you in the direction of the fight, away from peace. You must be ready to see it as it is about to happen and invite your higher self to send your ego a not wanted right now message. I'm fond of this A Course in Miracles quotation concerning ego replacement. You will not find peace except the peace of God. Accept this fact and save yourself the agony of yet more bitter disappointment, bleak despair and doubt. Seek you no further. There is nothing else for you to find except the peace of God. When you have an absence of peace at any time in your life, know that your ego, the false idea of yourself, is what's really responsible. Keeping in mind that every thought has a physical counterpart, you can see that an ego-produced constant state of tension that comes with proving yourself, hurrying, chattering, worrying, chasing, acquiring, and competing also involves tension in the body. High blood pressure, ulcers, skin disorders, headaches, back pain, and even more serious ailments such as cancer, strokes, and liver disorders are the payoffs for the dominance of the ego. These disorders manifest because you allow ego to create turmoil to avoid the peace that is found within. This awareness of the ego's program should help as you move toward restraining ego and getting to know your higher self. The ego, that false idea that we all have of ourselves, wants to maintain this persistent state of inner confrontation for some very solid reasons. When you understand your ego, you are much more apt to work at restraining it. When you know why your ego behaves as it does, you will then be able to make the adjustments necessary for your higher self to have a greater influence in your life.